Okay, so let's kick off just because we have quite a few things that we need to cover for today. If you would like to follow along with us, the link is on the page in order to get the presentation deck that I'm presenting off right now. So you can keep this, use it for your own. You can follow along at home as well in order to be able to take advantage of everything. And really, maybe we can also post that in the chat just to make it a little bit easier to grab for everybody. But welcome to our first session of 3 for accessibility and differentiation for all learners. Today, we will be covering Teams, and then we'll cover some Windows and Office 365 as well. So we're all super excited for that. Okay. Just as a reminder, this workshop is recorded, and so what that means is you can always grab the recording after today in case you wanted to review something. Maybe I showed something cool and you totally forgot how to exactly do it and you don't like slides. Or also, if you're not comfortable with video or audio, then that is just a little warning ahead of time as well. So a little bit about myself. My name is Damien. I live in Mississauga, Ontario. A little wow factor, I'm actually in Belleville right now, if anybody knows where that is. So that's a little bit of a trek right now. But Mississauga is from Treaty 13A. And I just love being able to teach, consult different educators, students all across the country. And Charity, I'll let you maybe introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's been a while since I've been with the Cobblestone crew, so I'm happy to be here today. My name is Charity. I am an educator and I just came back to the classroom. I'm so excited to be back here teaching again after 4 years of just quality consulting. I'm in Calgary, Alberta on the land of Treaty 7, and I am she, her. Enjoy your workshop today.
Awesome. And I think before we get started, let's take a moment to acknowledge the lands that we are currently settled. And I am very fortunate to be on the lands both in where I live and where I'm presenting from right now, respecting those that were before me. So a little, I guess, fact is some parts of Mississauga where I currently reside were part of the Dish with One Spoon territory. And what that basically meant was it bound numerous people in the territory to protect the land. And so the dish represented the land itself that was meant to be shared peacefully, while the spoon represented all the individuals that were living there, sharing resources and living in mutual cooperation. So personally, I just think that that's a very important thing to bear in mind, as it can be applicable to many of our modern struggles as well, such as climate change. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the lands that you're on, please visit native-land.ca, and you would be able to learn a little bit more about history. So I do encourage to do that. Big thank you to Cobblestone Collective for being able to support us in today's session. Super, super great to have them with our backs. And also a big thank you to Microsoft Education Canada for being able to promote this as well. So we are able to be here to give this for free for you. And covering today, we'll just be kind of going over some general accessibility settings that are primarily in Teams. We'll cover Immersive Reader, translation, and then lastly, some Teams meetings. And stay tuned to the end because we will be giving you a certification for the Microsoft Educator Center. And if time is nice, I will actually walk through and demonstrate how we can redeem that as well. So that would be super cool. Before I dive into it, I do just want to outline that the majority of the stuff I'll demonstrate, I'll try to do it in Teams Online, just because that's the most universal version out there. But as is the case with just about any product out there, desktop version does sometimes carry more things than just the online. So I'll try to verbally acknowledge when I'm either doing the switch or when we are changing between that, just so it's a little bit easier for anyone following along. Cool. Okay, so let's dive right in. I will open up my tab over here. And if you're either following along in the PowerPoint or maybe you're just listening in, I got here by opening up a tab and just typing in portal, if I can type that in, portal.office.com. And so you can type that in. It will take you to the login for any Office account. I prefer to put portal in the front because it'll take you to the educational login of it. And then, yeah, just sign in with your school email, your school account, the way that you would sign in anywhere else, and you're in. So I'll maybe give 10 seconds to do that if you'd like to follow along. I find it's best to learn by actually doing and practicing, but to each their own. Okay, cool. So now that we're in the portal, this is kind of what it looks like. It might be a little bit different for some of you. I have my apps on the left-hand side. They could be sometimes in the middle up here. If you're seeing neither of them for whatever reason, you could also go to the waffle in the top left corner and then find your apps from there. So there's a lot of different ways that we can navigate that. But we're gonna go ahead and select Teams. And we're gonna go ahead and load that up. So we're gonna kick off in the Teams Online, and let's wait for this to initialize to load us in. Cool. All right, I'm not sharing any Wi-Fi today, so it should be pretty speedy. So now that we're in, we are able to kind of see all of our Teams layout, right? But we're gonna actually navigate over to the top right-hand side. And that is where your kind of profile is, your name, your icon, and we're gonna click that. And if you've used Teams in the past, it's changed a little bit. It might have even changed this summer, depending on how frequently updates roll out in your school board or your district. But there used to be a general settings tab. Now it's just manage account. So when we go to the top right-hand side, we're going to click that profile, and we're going to go to manage account. Also, let me know if this is zoomed in enough, if we need to zoom in any more, or if you'd like me to stick to dark mode once I change over, just for any kind of ease of access. So by going into the manage account, it landed us in this accounts page, but we're actually going to navigate over to the general tab. And kicking off right from here, we can see that we can change the Teams layout, right? So we can have a different theme. So the default is kind of like a purple white background. We can change it to a dark font as well. Personally, I love this. I get a breath of fresh air looking at it. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and for presentation purposes, it might come off a little worse. So let me know if that's in the chat. Charity can always let me know or cut me off, but let me know how that looks like. And lastly, we have a high contrast option as well. So we have those kind of three themes that are available in our general layout. We can also change the layout. Now, I think this might have changed in the past year, but this initially started off as an education only feature. So I currently have it in a grid view, which means that all of my teams are separated in their own little box. So if I click accessibility studies, I only see accessibility studies, right? I only see this class or team that I'm a part of, as opposed to going back and changing it into a list format. And now I have everything kind of lined up over here. So I've heard, insights from other teachers, customers, school boards, things like that, that this actually felt very corporate-y, and which is why they opted to make a little bit more of a friendly approach by making a grid layout, which is super cool. The last thing I want to point out in the general tab is the language. So the language over here, it doesn't seem like it's important, but it's actually going to play a pivotal and direct role to the translation feature that I will showcase later. So I'm going to leave it officially at the English United States, but just as a kind of, quick scroll or browse, we have many languages available. And for example, our Spanish or Espanol, there's different versions of it. So it's recognizing different countries that might have certain different dialects or different ways to use that language. So Espanol, English has a bit, French has a bit, Francais over here. So lots of great languages. Chances are the one that you prefer is in there. And so you can change that to your own preference. Okay, so now that we covered the general, let's jump down 2 tabs to privacy. And privacy, there isn't too much over here, but under Do Not Disturb, there is a way that we can manage who actually can bypass that. So if you don't know what Do Not Disturb is, essentially, I could have said it before presenting, but nobody else is going to be on this tenant that I created. And so what that means is if you are, in an active environment and you are either presenting or teaching a class or anything like that, no one can actually bother you. Notifications won't push through to you. People, even if they mention you, it won't come through to you so that it doesn't teeter off your attention. So you can set that do not disturb at any time and kind of protect that headspace for when you are working or engaging with others. Also, we have the ability to toggle read receipts now. That is, for me, I like that. I don't like the idea that everything I do is kind of monitored or that I can take it at my own pace. And then you just have a couple of optional connected experiences, which I would recommend to turn on because things like GIFs and just ways to interact with students and with peers are a little bit limited without that checked off. Cool. Notifications, we'll kind of skip over that for now just because I really want to highlight the captions and transcripts. So by default, this should be turned on, and this will all kind of come full circle towards the end of the workshop when you might see what that means. But what this essentially means is when you are in a meeting and someone turns on captions, either for your if you turn on captions for yourself or someone turns on transcriptions for the meeting, then it will just recognize when you are speaking. So that's a pretty cool feature. I'll point that out when we get there. And lastly, in the calls section, all of this isn't too important except the last one over here. So we have the text telephone mode. And so this is really great, especially if we might have someone who's hard of hearing or they need a device in order to communicate through a phone, then you're able to turn this mode on through Teams. That's assuming that there is a phone number integrated with Teams. So in a school board, probably not, but you never know. And it's still great to point this out if anybody does require that. Cool. So that kind of covers the settings option, right? There is one extra setting that we'll showcase. While we're on the topic, I'll just showcase that. So I am now transitioning to the desktop version of Teams. So it's a dark mode now. Again, let me know if this is a little difficult to see. And it has a slightly different layout. Mostly it just doesn't have the bar, the URL at the top. So same way that we accessed it, I'm gonna hit our profile icon, go to manage account. And there's always going to be a few more options. So when we landed here, this add a personal account wasn't in the online version. We have a few application things over here, but I want to highlight the devices. And so this on devices is important because we have noise suppression. So basically what that means is when you are talking, Teams has added in a functionality that you can set whether you want a high noise suppression. So, if you predict, I don't know, someone's going to mow the lawn or there's like traffic or there's heavy construction nearby, right? You can set that so that it is a little bit higher. And that way it'll tune out more kind of mundane sounds, maybe the clicking of a keyboard or things like that. So this is really nice, again, to minimize distractions for both yourself and for others. Okay, cool. So I'm going to navigate back to the online version of Teams. Again, while we're on the topic, I figured I'll just switch between the two since it was just one thing to mention. Everything from here on out for the next two features are both in the online and offline, or I guess it's just easier to think anything you see now is also in the offline, or the desktop version. So I'm going to jump into a team. If you've never created a team before or anything like that, you can just click this join or create team. If you have a code for a team, you can put that in there, or you can just click create and then add some people inside that. But we're going to open up this little team I started creating. I plan to make this kind of our one size fits all for all these different things. And I'm going to go into my channel over here. So we've got a little assistive technology happening here. So all these different cool tools that we have going on. And the first one I want to talk about is Immersive Reader. So sorry, I'm just a little bit surprised because these colors are different when I was making it earlier. So I don't know what's going on here, but That's okay. So we've got Immersive Reader, and we're just talking about the Xbox Adaptive Controller. So I'm kind of double dipping here into accessibility. But if you don't know about the Xbox Adaptive Controller, I'll definitely recommend you check that out. It's pretty cool. But essentially, I'm just trying to see why I don't have my ellipsis popping up. I might have to sign out and sign back in again. But essentially, over here, what would happen is I should have an ellipsis popping up in the top right over here. So I'm going to have to troubleshoot that just a little bit. And what that means is it opens up an extra set of features. So if you're following along in the PowerPoint, you can kind of see that it's the 3 dots, 3 horizontal dots, and there's a ton of features in there. One of them would have been Immersive Reader. So I will actually go ahead and just quickly sign out of this, if that is okay, and sign back in, just because I don't like that happened. So bear with me, folks. We're going to try to do that again, just to make sure that we have everything we need.
No worries, Damien. I just want to make the comment that if anyone in this meeting has never seen Immersive Reader in action, you're about to have your mind blown. It is so powerful. Just what it can do for our students is amazing. So once Damien gets signed back in here, let's hope he can demonstrate it for us, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I love Immersive Reader, and I think now's a good time while we're kind of in a lull. If anyone had any questions so far about anything that we demonstrated, let us know. Again, I always love to hear kind of how we can tune this better to you, or what you'd like to hear if you like what you're hearing right now. But Charity's here. Charity's scanning the back end channels over there, just making sure that all of your questions are answered. So don't be afraid.
I sure am in here. Tammy loves Immersive Reader too. She used the mind-blowing emoji. Yes, it's pretty fantastic.
It's pretty great. So I'm really hoping this works. Let's dismiss that, because I truthfully won't know what else to troubleshoot if it doesn't work, but I'll just try something else, I guess. Yeah, no idea. Maybe if I go into general. You know what? It works in general. That's so weird. I've never seen that happen. But essentially, what I'm trying to do is right over here, we have a welcome back. So I made in my general channel a welcome back post. Thank goodness I made that. And when I hover over any kind of post, this is what I was looking for, that little ellipsis, those 3 dots right there. So now that I click on that, these are all those extra settings that I was talking about. So, we can save this message for later. That's a whole other Teams conversation. Mark as unread, things like that. Immersive Reader, right there, beautiful. Let's click on that and let's see the magic happen. So there's a lot happening. Let me kind of reset some settings, and then we will take it slow. So perhaps we maybe noticed that it was a very cluttered screen when we come back here, right? I've got some assignments that we're posting. I've got, the big banners. There's a lot of distractions that someone might be able to find simply looking at a Teams, channel or thread. So by clicking Immersive Reader, what it does is it eliminates those distractions by really only collecting the text, or the body of text of something, and making it legible and fully customizable for the reader. So really great for any students, adults who have any sort of learning disability. The one that comes to mind is dyslexia, for example. This is a phenomenal tool to help that. And what's better yet is Immersive Reader is found literally in every application you can think of. If I say whiteboard, it's in there. Flipgrid, it's in there. Any Office application, it's in there. Minecraft, if you want to bring that in, it's in there too. So it's a very simple layout. We have 3 menu options at the top, and then we have 1 at the bottom. So the first one is text preferences. And when I open that up, I have a slider scale. So I'm able to change the slider scale. Sorry, I had to kill fruit fly. And so this slider scale over here allows me to make the text bigger or smaller. I have it right now as a Comic Sans font. So this is particularly useful for younger grades, right? Because it resembles handwriting a little bit more, so it might be a little bit more approachable to read, but we can always change this font to Sitka or Calibri. So I'll leave it at Comic Sans. And by the way, all of these settings are remembered for the next time. So that's why when I loaded in, it had all those different changes already, because I was making the deck for all of you. And that was the setting that I left it at. So that's a really nice kind of reminder that you don't have to recalibrate each time. You can just adjust to your needs once. We can change the themes over here. So going back to that dark mode, I really like that. We can put different colors that we enjoy. I'll leave it at this sepia theme right now, just because it resembles almost like a page or a Kindle color. So with that being said, let's move on to grammar options. And right here, I'm going to toggle syllables. And so what that does is it adds little bullet points that break open the word and really helps where you would pronunciate it. So that is incredibly useful and actually completely changes the landscape of the text too. You're also able to highlight different parts of speech. So another really great tool for younger grades, English as second language students or adults. So if I click nouns, it's highlighting all of the nouns in purple. If I wanted to add verbs, there's a couple red verbs over here. We have some adjectives, and why not? Let's have a party. We have an adverb if it's somewhere in there. So I can change these colors if I so chose, right? So I can, again, customize what I would like to see. But in also the possible scenario where one of our students or anyone that's using this tool might be colorblind, we do have the option to show labels. So since the colors wouldn't really make a difference, the labels appear at the top of the word, therefore explaining what that word is. So we don't have to only color code our text. So that's a really great kind of inclusive feature that I very much enjoy. I'm going to turn some of these off. They're a little bit distracting for me for now, but now we're on the last kind of layout UI up there, and it is the reading preferences. So what I can do is I can toggle this and it will focus on one line at a time. So it kind of blacks out or grays out the rest of the text and allows the student or you to focus and really take your time until you finish that sentence before moving on. I do have an option here for 3 lines at a time, and generally, depending on the size of the text, you also have a 5-line option as well. Mine's a little too small to have that ungrayed, so it's currently grayed out. For our visual learners, we have a picture dictionary that is built in. So this is powered by Boardmaker, which is a really great company. They actually work a lot with Tobii Eye Tracker as well. So if you're into eye gaze technology, you'll likely find a lot of their partnerships there. But for example, yes. So I always reference this word in every Immersive Reader demo I do, but I never actually have it in person. So what I can do is I can click on a word and it gives me different variables of pictures. And what I love about this word school is that it gives us the option of imagining school as a classroom, as an actual building or an administrative building, or as a school of fish. So throwback to Finding Nemo. So those are some really great ways that students can, attribute different words to different thoughts, and Boardmaker really does their best in order to accommodate that, right? So we have summer over here. No, I don't know why I tried ellipsis, but click. So we have the picture dictionary, and lastly, we can translate either by word. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep it Canadian. We're going to translate to French Canada. So I can click on each word and it will tell me kind of the French equivalent. So welcome, bienvenue. If I go to everyone, à tout. So we can click word by word and kind of learn manually in that sense, or I can translate the entire document in a matter of seconds. So there we go. So now I have this entire thing translated, which is great. I'm actually curious if it would read that light bulb. But so now we have everything translated. Again, great for ESL students, great for any French classes we might have. This is a phenomenal tool. As a little FYI, in case not a lot of people know, so I'm just saying the alphabet in my head, we also have Inuktitut, So that's a really cool language in here as well that not a lot of educators might know about. So if we're interested in doing some studies up north, then that is a cool thing as well. Lastly is our play and settings. So I can adjust the voice speed, whether I want it a little bit slower or a little bit faster, and just have 2 different voice selections as well. I'm going to click play. I'm going to warn everybody, you're not going to hear anything because I joined this meeting through a web browser. I don't have the option of sharing my desktop audio, just again, because I'm limited with applications. But please believe me when I say, or maybe if you're following along at home, you can do this yourself. It is right now reading to me in French. So it is reading in that language that it is currently observed, which is great. Not every language is supported with a voiceover, but most of them are out of these like 60 plus languages. Okay, so that was Immersive Reader. Now, let's see if actually being on here changed anything. Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I'm gonna have to take a look at that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the next part live. So I'm gonna make a live text, and then that way, you know, it's not a scripted thing. Actually, this whole thing now won't be scripted. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and choose a topic. I like astronomy. Let's go ahead and try to do that. Astronomy. I'll go Wikipedia. Please don't hate me right now. It's just for the sake of the demo. Let's take this text. Okay, now we're gonna go to translate. Okay, we're gonna go English. A, B, C, D, E. We're gonna paste it in here. Too much text. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna use Google. Please don't hate me. I'm doing everything I can. French to English. This should support a large text. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy that French text, close everything down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my teacher's corner. No one's really going to see a thing in there. And let's make a subject. So test. Traduction. I think I remember that. And just nasty thoughts of no breaks or anything in there. Okay, looks somewhat okay. So let's go ahead and send that out. We're going to post it. It doesn't want to post. That's okay. Maybe then what I can do is make a new conversation here. Now, I'm curious if it's because I'm already signed into another incognito browser on the web. So that's actually something I'm going to take a look at, which is pretty interesting. But let's go ahead and let's post this. Let's see if that happens. Oh, so it did post. Cool. So
Damien,
now, yeah.
Sorry, we just got a question. What does the little icon beside Teacher's Corner mean?
Great question. So that's a little luck. And so what that means is that it's a private channel. So I made it so that only certain people can be a part of that. So I'm just going to deviate very quickly if that's okay. I'm going to hit the ellipsis beside the name of the class and the team. So mine is called Accessibility Studies. Yours might be Geography, or whatever the topic is. I'm going to click that ellipsis and I'm going to add a channel. So if I leave it as standard, that means whatever channel I add, everyone is able to see. But I can change it to private right there. And that means that once I click next, I can add a certain assortment of people and only that group is able to see it. So that's a great question. So again, really great. If you wanted to have a teachers only section or plan ahead, that's a super cool way that you can do that. All right, so pivoting back, we have our French text. So the reason I was kind of like running along and struggling is because if we circle back to when we talked about the translation feature in the settings. So I'm going to go to manage account in the general, right over here, the language. So when we set the language to whatever language we set to, that is Team's native language, right? So that means that any incoming language that isn't the native language you set to is translatable to the language that you're currently in, if that makes sense. So because I am in English United States, right, that means that anything that's in English, I can't translate, obviously, because it's already the native language I've set. So if I get a French text coming at me like this, and this is whether it's in a team, it can be a chat. So if a student, went ahead and sent a a chat to me, or a question in a different language, or anything like that, I'm able to do this. So once I go to the text that has the different language, I'm going to, in the exact same kind of fashion that we did, we're going to find that ellipsis. So I would hover over the body of the paragraph or the text, click those 3 dots, and navigate over to translate. And this is a pretty simple and quick demo. In just a couple seconds, it completely translated inside of Teams. So there's a little icon here, and that is the little translate icon. So anywhere you see that, that means that it is actively translating the text from whatever language it came from into the language you are natively using Teams for. So this is, again, a really kind of great way to communicate with students or anybody that might be a little bit uneasy, that might feel have that language barrier, that might feel a little bit more safe or comfortable speaking in their own language. So you're able to translate like that and still maintain that level of communication with them, which is super great. I'm going to take a pause just to see if there were any other questions. I did like that one. Wasn't really related, but it was very easy to explain. So again, great question. If you have any more, let Charity know and she'll interrupt me. That's fine. But yeah, I want to make sure everyone kind of understands what we're covering.
Sorry, could I jump in? I have a question. Something you said.
Mm-hmm.
You said that Immersive Reader was available whether you're using Minecraft, and you named a bunch of other apps, but that's not in Microsoft, right? So how is that available? I don't know if I'm understanding correctly. How can you use immersive experience in Minecraft when it's not in Teams?
Okay, I hear the question. I understand the confusion, and I'll try to iron it out. So,
okay.
Minecraft is actually bought by Microsoft long time ago, maybe 5 years ago. So Microsoft technically owns Minecraft. Now, you are correct in saying that the Windows 10 version or the Java version of Minecraft, whatever is the popular versions of Minecraft out there, yes, Immersive Reader is not found in those versions. However, what you might not be aware of is that after the acquisition of Minecraft through Microsoft, Microsoft developed Minecraft Education Edition. So they developed a specific version of Minecraft, and we run these trainings all the time. So if you're interested in learning more, there's definitely a lot to kind of dive into. But basically, this Minecraft Education Edition, that is the one that has Immersive Reader. So it is that version that is purchased by school boards, by ITs, assigned out. You can assign students and classes, and kind of create lesson plans and cool stuff like that. Immersive Reader is built into that. So if you place a board down, if you place like a poster or a sign or things like that, there's even a portfolio that you can grade and write pictures and reports. Immersive Reader is found in those. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. And anything else? And yeah, if you want to jump off mute, that is totally fine by me. If you're more comfortable typing in the chat, that's okay as well. But if I don't hear anything in the next 15 seconds, I'll take it as my cue to start the last bit of this journey.
There doesn't seem to be anything in the chat, Damien. What I did love was Aileen's suggestion with the settings on each of your channels. You could create subgroups within a class, she said, which is amazing. What a great idea. And then I've also dropped the link to the Cobblestone Collective site. As Damien was saying, we do a lot of Minecraft EDU workshops and trainings. So you can check out that website for more on those that we offer.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for all that back end work. That's great. Okay, so I think we're ready to move on. We'll kind of complete this last leg of or this last bit of the journey, and let's start by. Man, this is going to be odd. I'm on a call, and I'm going to be in a call again. So essentially, what's going to happen is I'm going to join. I've kind of created these fake, very real calendar for this teacher, and I'm gonna select that. If you don't know what I'm doing right now, or you're not familiar with Teams, I just went to the calendar tab on the left-hand side over here, and you can either click on an existing, a meeting that you have and click join. If you don't have anything in your calendar, you can create a new meeting and just kind of go through that function, or you can just click meet now. It will just create a meeting right on the spot, and you can invite people on demand if you so chose. But I have this repetitive class until June of next year, so we're going to go ahead and join that. Allow, but I probably don't need that. Okay. So my camera works on this, but not on the one I'm presenting. That's great. Let's turn everything off right now, and we're just going to join right in. But notice that all we had was the ability to turn our camera and our microphone on and off in the online version of Teams. Okay, so I'm gonna outline some of these differences between online and desktop, just so we know kind of the difference, but also what support we need to provide for students or peers as well. So those are the only two options. We do have a raise hand feature, which Eileen, I believe you use. That's awesome. Thank you for demonstrating that. And with the ellipsis over here, there's a few different things that we can do. Not too much, but the first thing is a large gallery. So I can select this. It's not going to do it justice, unfortunately, even if I turn this camera on, just because it's me, right? So I'm actually going to keep the camera off just because I don't think my internet can support that. But what large gallery is essentially it's the popular. You can support 7x7 screens, so you can support up to 49 screens at once, and then be able to have a full class or a group or anything like that, a club at one time. Now, again, bandwidth, you have to be mindful of that. So I'm not sure who has NASA level bandwidth to support that, but that is there. With that being said, however, Microsoft did a study through COVID last year, and the link is actually in the deck. So maybe we can repost that after, but it's in there for you. And they did a study looking at the levels of brain activity when people in virtual meetings were facing with multiple cameras, right? And multiple faces like that. So they did a study, and they saw how taxing it is mentally and how straining it was for users and individuals to be engaged, right? There's a lot of activity happening. There's a lot of people and body language to pick up on. There's a lot happening. And so the solution to that was to make together mode. Now, what together mode basically does is that it's still a video, but it puts you in like an auditorium setting. So I'm going to turn my camera on. Let's see how well this goes. And then, hey, I'm in a little classroom, right? So I'm pretty lonely in here, but the chairs are comfy. But essentially what you're able to do is when you have a classroom, they all start populating these chairs, and it's as if you're talking to that classroom, out in virtual real time. And the difference, however, though, is that you don't have all the individual backgrounds. So your brain isn't processing all the different changes across your 7, 14, 21 different cameras. The study, again, that Microsoft did was that your brain was not as hyperactive in this kind of environment, having that. And so now not only can you almost replicate that student or classroom learning, but you can also, I'm going to turn this off because now this is just a little sad to look at. But now you can essentially have a little bit of a easier time, whether it's teaching or educating, seeing kind of a different body language from students. So that's super cool. I included photos in the deck just of what exactly it looks like if it was actually populated. So so there's that. And I think that's it in the Teams Online. So I'm going to pivot and navigate over to offline. We're going to talk about the last few features in there, and then I will provide you your code and showcase how you can go ahead and redeem that. Great for your ALP or ALP class, courses, and really great to kind of move that forward. So let's hang up. I think we're done here. Yeah, we'll be done here. So I'm going to exit out of this, save a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and open up Teams. So we're back.
Can I ask a question, Damien, before you
Yeah,
move
absolutely.
on? Just about this together mode. So I tried it just to see where I end up, and I can see it, but I also see your screen that you're sharing, and then I see myself. Like, you know, it's. I understand the purpose, but it seems like how do I make it so that all I see is that scene with me and I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Just
Charity?
the two of us. Yeah.
So you can try a spotlight feature. So let me jump in right now, and I'll showcase how you can spotlight, and maybe that will help.
Okay.
So yeah, great question though. So yeah, we're in the desktop Teams. We're in the calendar. Let's join. You know what? I'm gonna join into Weekly Sync. So already we can see a different layout when we're joining the desktop Teams. We have a lot more audio kind of features or possibilities. So we have like computer audio, phone. If we're dialing in, we can just use an actual audio system. I don't think many schools have that, but if you do, that's actually a really cool experience. And then we can also note the background filters. So when I toggle on the camera, you can see me. I can click on background filters, and the standard kind of blur, which is actually created again by Microsoft Engineer. Really cool story there. I can share at the end if we have time. But then there are some preset backgrounds that you can obviously change to. So that's like a Minecraft Dungeons. I uploaded a little Star Wars because I'm a fan. So there's a lot of cool things you can do, and you can add a new one as well, which is super fun. Again, for the sake of bandwidth, I'm just going to turn that off, but great to know that that is there. Let's join in now. Okay, cool. So the layout is different now, right? So as a presenter, there's a couple different options that we can see. I have breakout rooms, for example, but that's a whole other topic. And what's really cool, so actually let me cover the spotlight now that it's top of mind for me. I'm going to click on the participant tab in the top, okay? And the participant tab will outline everybody who's currently in the meeting. And when I hover over, you know, the organizer, for example, I can click that ellipsis and spotlight. So basically, it will highlight my video for everybody else in the meeting. So it's good if you have an interpreter, for example. You can spotlight maybe side by side if you had the deck or someone else. So there's different ways you can play around with that. But yeah, let me know if that spotlight worked for the together mode, because I'm kind of actually just figuring these out now. But that might be a fix there. So with spotlight mode there, we have the raise hand feature again in the same spot, but under the ellipsis, it's a drop-down menu now. I have it grayed out, so the Teams desktop app is mindful to know that there's nobody here with no cameras on, so it's not even going to recommend trying out large gallery and together modes. It's a little bit of AI happening. I can full screen, right, because it's in the windowed mode right now, which means I can move the actual meeting icon elsewhere. We talked about backgrounds, and we can turn on live captions. So I'm going to turn that on, and we'll wait for it to adjust slightly. But I do want to point out that the captions, when we turn them on, is for the user themselves. So as a presenter, if I want to kind of, you know, have that available for everybody out there, then it doesn't really work like that. It only shows the user if they toggle it. So maybe a great practice, if you are joining a class or things like that, is to, you know, showcase to students, hey, if you want your closed captions, maybe a lot of them are used to it, then you can go here and turn them on, and that way they can follow along. It says that they are on, but it's not showcasing at the bottom, which is a little odd. I think I know why. I think it's because I spotlighted myself. No, I didn't. Okay. Then not sure why the captions aren't turning on. Maybe I'll turn them off again and try once more. but essentially it would appear at the bottom of the screen. And to make another connection to what we talked about in the beginning is that now, before it used to just be captions, right? It just said words as they appeared, no matter who is presenting them. But now it identifies the individual who's speaking as long as they toggled that menu icon. So if it were showing at the bottom, in the deck it shows it, but it would say Cobblestone Collective, because that's the account name in this case. If it was me in my own account, it would say Damien, right? And it would signal that I'm the one speaking and allow those that are following along on the CC to identify who actually is conversing, which is super powerful. Let's turn that off since it's not working. There is a recording option. It's not necessarily a team, it's kind of a Teams accessibility cool feature, but if I start recording, everything that is happening within the Teams gets then uploaded to Stream. So as a very quick breakout, there's 3 data containers inside of Office. One is OneDrive, you might have heard of that. One is SharePoint, you might have not heard of that. And one is Stream, you probably never heard of that. So OneDrive is kind of your personal storage, right? Where you can put on documents that you're currently working on, maybe share with individuals. SharePoint is your organization storage. So if you upload something, it kind of belongs to the school. And the Stream is only for videos. It's basically an internal YouTube. So when you click recording in a Teams meeting, especially if you want to provide this for your students afterwards, it gets uploaded to Stream. I could show that if we want. It probably won't upload in time for the rest of the video. But the reason why that's important is because a transcript happens inside of Stream. So students are then able to refer to Stream to the video or the class that you did and see the transcript of everything that was mentioned in there. And they can even search that transcript. So if they're looking for a specific part of the lecture or the class or recording, right, for study purposes, they can type in what was specifically mentioned and find that part of the video. They can jump through that. So that's also a really kind of great tool. There is a start transcription option here. This is very alpha. It was out, maybe, I don't even know, this year. And so there are a few limitations on that. It's only in English. It only works in a scheduled meeting. So if I have this weekly sync, that it only works in one of those. It does not work in a Meet Now, and it doesn't work in a meeting that was posted to a channel. So when I made this assistive technology class, I also, just to demonstrate, when I make a new meeting, I can add a channel right over here. So I can specifically broadcast it into a specific channel in order to get like an ease of access to enter that meeting. It does not work in those either. So it is meant for more just interpersonal communications. And then once you have someone in here, you start a transcription. It appears on the right-hand side, and then it will transcribe, and which you can then save following that. So good to know that live captions do not get saved. Transcription does. Was there a question?
Yeah, there's a really great question, actually. Aileen asks, are teachers able to edit the transcript before it is uploaded?
That's a pretty good question. I truthfully don't know. I don't think so. I think at this stage of the feature, it's too new for that option to be there. So it's a great question. I don't think it's currently available, but I know that they would like to definitely implement that. But yeah, great question. Okay, cool. So with that being said, we're kind of there. I do want to demonstrate the code. So let's kind of do the closing, the wrap up, and then we'll stay tuned for any questions that might be around. So this is the deck that you have access to. Let me know if you did open it up, how the dark mode looks like. It's a little untraditional from the decks I've created before and shared out, but I found that a light mode in Teams, it kind of backwashes with the background of a PowerPoint. So if dark mode works a little bit better, let me know, let Charity know. I'll definitely appreciate that feedback so I know what I can create in the future. And so this is the code for today. So because all of you have joined us and spent your evening or maybe afternoon, wherever you're from, with us today, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to be able to take this code and redeem it at education.microsoft.com. And if you're unfamiliar with any of what I just said, no problem. We'll kind of walk you through what you can do to redeem that, and then leverage that for your own kind of transcript. So maybe we'll post the code in just a moment inside of the chat. But I'm going to go ahead to education.microsoft.com. Let's just open up. No, that's not what I want. So I'm typing in education.microsoft.com, and I'm already logged in. I'm going to sign out just so some of us might have the same experience. But if you've never seen this before, essentially we are helping to get you educators trained up and recognized for the training that you're doing. So we know you might be going out of your way to do some of these courses or trying to skill up, which is phenomenal. And you deserve to be recognized for that. So the Educator Center is kind of that one-stop shop for that. So if you've never made an account before, under the sign in, it's probably going to automatically sign me in. Maybe not. I'm going to use my personal account. That's kind of my hot tip for this site, is use a personal account. And the reason for that is because if you ever do end up moving on or transitioning jobs or anything like that, you don't want your credentials locked to a certain school account, and then suddenly you lose that and you have to go all over again. So I'll make a personal account in order for you to take those accomplishments with you and build that portfolio of achievements. So when you make that account, all you have to do is go to your top right, and there's, again, just 3 simple things. You can go to your profile, but that code that we're giving out, you can redeem it over here. So you type it in, and then you click redeem, and you'd get a nice little pop-up of the code of the training that you did. So a little bit of recognition for that. And when you amass codes or continue to be with us or anything like that, by clicking that same icon in the top right and hitting my profile, now you have a profile of everything that you completed. So I've been here for a few years now. I just did some stuff recently. And I can either, again, redeem my code from here. So there's always multiple ways to do something. And I can also view my transcript. So by clicking this view transcript, this is my transcript of all of the trainings that I did. So I can take this with me if, again, I wanted to showcase that or demonstrate, put it on LinkedIn if you so chose. So there are some great ways that you can leverage that. And then as I think we included a couple courses, maybe 1 or 2 courses in the deck, but you're able to definitely follow along and kind of enhance your learning in that as well. So you can find different courses in here and then be able to kind of upskill, which is super cool. So for that, I think going back to the deck, yeah, all we have left is really just the additional resources. This bringing us together, that's what I talked about, that study that Microsoft did about brain activity and gallery, video calls and together mode. So definitely take a read there. It's probably like a nice 5-10 minute read. We have a little fact about live transcription. So truthfully, that question that was asked about editing, it might actually be answered. I just don't want to go searching for it on video. But then lastly, we can also have just a general accessibility overview in Teams. So if there's something else that we didn't cover, which there is, there's always stuff that we can't fit in an hour, then definitely go ahead and view that here. So yeah, I mean, that is all from us. Thank you so much for being here. Let us know how this was. So you can definitely give us feedback, direct feedback about this presentation. How did I do? How can we help improve for you? Did this timing work? Would you have preferred to do it at a different time? So we're always learning with you, and we want to make sure that we are helping all of you out to the best ability. And if you have any questions, go ahead and give that email a little knock on the door, help@cobblestonecollective.ca. So we've got a huge team behind the scenes that is ready to help you out and really wants to be able to answer your questions. You'll generally probably have an answer within 48 hours. So if you have any questions, definitely send it to that email, and we would love to try to assist in any way we can. But with that being said, 4 minutes to 8 for me. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer them now. I can stay a little bit behind as well. But thank you all for joining. Oh, and if you're interested, we are hosting part 2 next week on Tuesday. So that will be covering Windows. If you're using a Windows device, or if you're not, maybe one of your students are. That's super cool to still know. And part 3 is the following Tuesday, which is Office 365. So we'll cover, we'll highlight over a few of the similar features, but there's some great stuff inside Office in general. And actually, tomorrow we have a reading progress. If you're interested in that, brand new feature. Within 2 weeks, it was released. So definitely a lot of great stuff there if you're interested. But that's it for me. I talk a lot. It's time for all of you to talk if you want. So thank you.
Thanks, Damien. I did drop the link to the feedback there in the chat. Damien, if you wouldn't mind going back to the slide with the code for them to enter. Awesome. We kind of went by that pretty fast, and I didn't even get a chance to type it in for them. So there you are. That's your code. I love that we showed you where to enter that. Sometimes I know when I go to PD, if I'm not shown how to actually do something, I'm probably never going to go do it. So there you go. You've been shown, and there's the code. I just dropped it in the chat as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Damien. It has been a slice, and it's always great to work with Cobblestone Collective educators and trainers. Have a great evening, everyone.